friends. Uncle Marv here with another episode of my Unhealthy Podcast, the show about life. And yes, it was originally intended to be a show where we talked about health and fitness, but it turns out that we need to talk about more things, anything that we can do to keep our lives healthy and happy. And it is now turned into something where it's all about mind, body, and spirit. And in that vein, I want to bring to the show somebody I met recently that I think is going to help us with the mindset part of this. Somebody that has created a transformative coaching experience inspired by her own journey of extreme loss and grief, and helps empower individuals to transform their challenges into purposeful stories and meaningful lives. And today I want to introduce you to Hope Rose. Hope, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Uncle Marv. I am glad to be here.
Well, thank you for coming on and helping us to learn how we can live healthy and be happy as it pertains to our experiences and how we can keep our mindset on the proper path.
Yeah, mindset is a big one for folks. I know it has been for me in the past, and it still is. So that is always a good place to start. So we can talk about, how to cultivate a mindset right off the bat if you want to.
All right. Well, first, tell me about your transformative coaching experience. So normally when we talk about coaches on here, it's usually somebody that helps us with our diet or somebody that helps us as a, life coach when it comes to business or a trainer sort of a thing. But this is a little bit different. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So transformative coaching is multidimensional coaching. So it's mind, body, spirit, but it's even deeper than that. It has to do with like the energetics. And so let's say, if somebody wants to lose weight, we can, change the diet. We can change what they're cooking with, we can change all like the external things, but if we don't change what's up top first, we're just simply swimming upstream and working almost against ourselves. And so a transformative coaching experience is really getting under what's, the root cause of driving this weight loss. How did the weight even get there to begin with? And so working with those energetic patterns is a place that I start with, which also has to do with beliefs. Most of this work is all subconscious work. And by the age of 6, someone has already, our belief system has already been set up by the age of 6 is the better way to word it. So a lot of adults are, basically running a 6-year-old script, and that's usually unconscious. And so, things are happening in the 3D, life is happening, and they can't figure out why life is so hard or difficult until they work with somebody who's experienced in some of these modalities, and they can begin to untangle the different patterns that got them to this place today. And it's really deep work. It's deeper than just counseling, but it goes a lot faster if the person is committed to the process. And, you can do like 10 years of, therapy and like a year of really transformative coaching. So it's all about the energetics, the spirituality of, whatever situation a person is in. And a person can be having like, trouble in like their business of like, they can't reach, they can't get past 6 figures, or, they hit a plateau. And that is a really good indicator of we need to go back to the basics of the energetics and kind of, untangle those patterns to rise above whatever barrier you currently have.
All right. So this seems a little bit deeper than therapy, where we kind of sit on a couch and somebody's like, tell us what you're thinking, or how does that make you feel? A lot of times, when we talk about those types of sessions, they're really just kind of looking for an underlying reason of how you feel a certain way. And sometimes they do point back to, an environment or an event or something like that, that is kind of deep in the psyche and stuff. So transformative sounds like it's a little bit of that, but it can go a little deeper, right?
For sure. And, I'm certainly not knocking, traditional therapy. It's been influential in my life, and there's some really skilled therapists out there. However, for, a lot of situations, a really skilled coach in kind of the transformative space can really get to like the heart of the issue very quickly. And that is kind of why it's so transformative, because you're like you have all these epiphany light bulb moments of like, oh, that's why that happened. Got it. So this is kind of, part of the transformative process is our thoughts drive feelings, feelings drive actions, and actions, drive our belief system. So it's kind of like this loop, and that belief system goes back into the thoughts, goes back into the feelings, goes back into like the 3D reality. And so really getting a handle on like, oh, what are my thoughts? What are my feelings? If I'm feeling this way, okay, let's back up. Oh, my thoughts are producing this feeling. So it's a very deep process. It's magical work, because once you kind of untangle some of these things, you get, that's how you get clarity. People always want clarity up front. Clarity comes in the back end of doing the work. So for somebody, like time management isn't the problem. It's the result of the problem. So if somebody in business is like, I just have time management issues. Well, that's just the result of what is it the result of. We have to back up.
Right.
I can't seem to, get beyond this certain figure in business. Again, it's the result. I can't seem to stay in, healthy relation, or, find a healthy partner. Result. So it's really backing up and undoing those, misaligned patterns and beliefs to get the desired result that we want.
So you said misaligned patterns and beliefs. So I was trying to develop in my head a question around the idea of, we live in a society where we want to know exactly what the outcome is going to be before we do something. So we want to know that if I'm going to go to a fitness coach, well, I'm going to get in shape at some point in time. We may not know the path, but we know that it might involve a gym. It might involve ellipticals. It might involve running. It might involve weights. It's going to involve, redoing our diet and stuff like that. In this situation, it doesn't sound like people may know what they're looking for. They just might get stuck. So I was going to ask you, what is the difference when somebody's just looking for, help in that area where they think it's time management, or they think it's, a plateau they hit? And how do they know that it's going to be something that needs to be more transformative?
Well, because their current problem is probably not bringing them much happiness, peace, joy, fulfillment. Like they're stuck here, and it's like, oh, I have this time management issue, and feels chaotic, and I can't get things done, and like they feel like all this weight on them of like, I keep missing appointments, or there's too many appointments. And so if the person is really willing to sit down and like look at, okay, time management is the problem. Am I open enough to be willing to see what else is driving this? And that's really, it takes a very willing person to be open in the, kind of the beginning of just like, okay, I'm going to dip my toe in the water. Let me check this out. And, it can be scary for a person to embark on that. But if the person really wants to like, oh, I can conquer this time management issue. I can, scale my business to, 9 figures. Like maybe that's just enough to get them to enter, a coaching experience that is, multifaceted, multidimensional, and what other opportunities lie within that opportunity as well. So it's just not time management, but there's probably other areas in their life that are seeking attention and need nourishment as well. So, I just mentioned time management just from like, it's just a lot of business people like, I have time management issues. Again, it's the result. So you can put in anything, plug it into, instead of time management. That's just the one that kind of is popping in my head. Money is a big one. Money plateau is very big. I'm not getting clients. Can you think of any, popular ones that, that you've seen?
Well, when you said I can't get clients. So in my industry, which is the tech industry, the answer for us is always, well, you need to do better marketing. You need to be on LinkedIn more. You need to send out more newsletters and all of that stuff. And those are all processes, but those aren't things that help, me in particular understand, why is my business stuck? And, I'm guessing that a real business person would look at it and say, well, if the business is stuck, it's stuck either because of me or because of something I'm doing, and then would have the, what is it, the word I'm looking for, would have the guts to look inside. Does that sound right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, a normal business person would be like, you need more funnels, you need more networking meetings, you need, you should, track how many network meetings you're going to a month, and then like break out the metrics of like, okay, if I go to, 100 meetings and then I get, 50 leads and then 10 calls, like that should give me the end result. And that's business.
Right.
That's not the transformative experience I'm talking about, because like you can do all of that and you can still be stuck. And so what, these is really asking questions of like, what would be a good question for that? A coach asks good questions, and a consultant has the answer. So I'm trying to channel like a question I can ask for that example. It would really be something along the lines of, what do you believe about business? Like, is business hard? Is getting clients hard? Is getting clients difficult? Oh, now we can start to what's that belief of like, I have to work really hard for money, or, business is, it's a grind, or, I have to do 100, networking events a month to get these calls to, jump on, another call, one-on-ones, so it just keeps on trickling down. But if we can get right to the belief of like, what is your belief about business? Oh, so now we can work with that.
Okay. So part of me just started thinking of somebody who looks at that and says, okay, my belief about business and marketing is that you have to do X to get clients. I'm not willing to do X. So I need to find somebody in my business that is willing to do X. But that still doesn't fix the transformative part of it, does it? Or is that part of it where my realization that that's not me?
Yeah, I mean, if you're the business owner at the end of the day, sure, you can outsource marketing. And I would offer for people, the listeners' consideration is that, you can pay somebody, thousands of dollars to do, great marketing. At the end of the day, you're still the owner of you're the owner operator of the business, and your energy directs that business transaction. So it's always going to come back to you. You can outsource the sales, you can outsource the marketing, you can outsource, whatever thing it is, social media, whatever. But your energy is still in that field, and that's going to still have a reaction, cause and effect within your business. And so you can what I would offer is you can hire that marketing person and do the work yourself for, like double benefits. And then you'll get the return on the marketing. Because if you're just doing marketing without really doing the inner work on yourself, you'll probably just be wasting money and you won't have the results that you want. If you really want to start a great fire for your business, work on yourself, hire the marketing person, whatever you want to outsource, and put those together. And now you have a bonfire.
All right. So let me switch paces a little bit and ask you this, because this sounds like it could be difficult. It sounds like, you could be trying to really, pull things out of people. So what actually got you interested or on this path where, transformative coaching is, your life right now?
Yeah, I mean, my entire life has been built on applied knowledge. So health, wellness, psychology, mental health, like all of, everything under that umbrella has always fascinated me. That's, what I've built my career on, at a couple of decades at this point. And so the transformative part came about in the last couple of years. I have, underwent a severe fracture in my life, and it really has brought me to my knees. And people can go to my podcast to kind of hear more about the personal story in that. My podcast is A Transformed Life. And the first couple episodes kind of explain what I've been walking through, and I'm still going through it even as we record this today. And I met like my mentor / coach who has walked with me through my transformative process. And it has been so life-changing. And I've just, just kind of adapted what I've learned from my personal experience. And I've seen how it, can, transform my personal life. And I want to, offer that to as many people that are willing to take that, leap of faith, take that step, and realize that life is so much more than what we've been told. And a lot of people are like holding themselves back and they don't even realize it. I know, personally for me, that was, kind of one of my patterns. And so, yeah, I'm just excited about this work because it's really pivotal in a person's life to kind of go through this, and you just have a clearer, vision of your life and why things are happening. And, if you're not happy with, where you are in life, there's another way. And, you can make peace with, your remaining years, and not only peace, but also I think through the process that I've been going on to, like one of my visions is, a global healing, transformative, experience for every single soul. We need to, stop the abuse that is happening across the globe. Domestic violence is one thing that, unfortunately, I am, an expert in, I guess, having been a quote unquote victim, as an adjective, not as how I live my life. And so I just realized, we have generations that are, coming behind us that are asking for us to take a stand and say, hey, abuse stops with us and healing starts with us. So that is a big mission of mine, to bring healing, to offer healing, to anyone who wants it. And just not, just flu, woo-woo healing, but really deep, like, ancestral trauma that's been passed down through generations, and you can be the one, to be that cycle breaker. And so my story is pretty impactful. And like I've said all along, like I really want my story to, move a lot of people to change and to be a good steward of my story, because it's such a, tragic, profound story. And I am alchemizing that, for the highest good of all.
All right. So I hope I will have links to the podcast in the show notes. So listeners, if you're out there, you'll see that the podcast is called A Transformed Life. And I should let my listeners know, this is a very raw podcast. Hope you share some personal stuff out there. I want to make sure listeners are ready for that, because if you're not, it could smack you in the face.
That is right. Yes. I don't hold back. And, speaking truth. And if people are not ready for that, don't listen to the podcast. If you're ready to, kind of have your mind expanded in, a new way of thinking, then take a listen.
Yeah. So I know you've got a couple of events in your life that kind of, led to that. And are there any that you're comfortable sharing? I have some I may want to ask about, but I'd like for you to start where you are most comfortable with sharing that story.
Have you listened to the first couple of episodes?
I listened to the first couple. I listened to the last one of 2024. Okay. That one actually kind of got me there.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So kind of like the brief recent story is, I was involved with a guy, We met almost, I guess, 8.5 years ago at this point. Gosh, I can't believe it's coming up on 9 this year. And did not realize it at the time because of unhealed patterns I had in my life. And he was a classic abuser, and just a really tragic story. I guess my personality is, what they say as an empath, and, kind, caring, sweet, and abusers pick up on that kind of behavior. So we were together 2 years, start to finish. I had a little boy, in early 2018. And the abuse really escalated from there in every which way: financial, emotional, psychological. He had already isolated me in a small town, just the classic signs of a narcissistic sociopath, and attempted to take my life twice, and my son's life, getting, life insurance policies attempted to get life insurance policies on both me and my child. I still don't know to this day if they are active, but who knows if I will ever know what's happening on that. And he eventually walked out on us when my son was 7 months old, changed the locks in the house, drained our joint checking accounts, took the car away that he had given me because he already repoed my car. So I had literally, I was stranded in the middle of nowhere with a foot of snow, 4 degrees, a baby, no diapers. I mean, it was a very dark time in my life, and then took me to court for custody and child support. And I was a stay-at-home mom. And I'm trying to see if I can fast forward the story because there's a lot in it, because
there is a lot. Yeah. And, I mean, I've shared some of the personal stories of, the separation, shall I say, the trafficking part of it as well. These are pretty intense. These are lifetime movie events.
They are. Yeah. And one of my really dear friends has, encouraged me, of when I've been, in some very, dark times, just going through this. And he was like, your life is a movie, Hope Rose is a movie. And I'm like, it's a film. And I'm like, okay. But yeah, to kind of, get back to the little bit of, finishing up this, recent story, or at least recent chapter of my life. Let's see. He came into, my ex came in, or the ex, I don't like to call him the ex came in to a stipulation ahead of trial in October 2019. And this is just kind of, I put out this detail just to kind of lead up to some of the most recent, his actions post this agreement that he had. And he agreed to very low child support. I didn't care about child support, honestly. I just wanted my little baby safe. That was my, literally safe, physically, alive, breathing, safe, as well as myself. The other party already moved out of state. So he was nowhere close to us. And about 12 hours of visitation over a 4-day period, no longer than 3 hours each day. And he had not paid any court-ordered child support that he put himself on. And as these individuals do, they don't want to pay child support. They view children and the mothers of their children as possessions, especially children as possessions. They just want to hurt the mother. And that's what I said kind of previously, is that, I really want healed generations. We have got to stop harming women. And I'll put this statistic in. Over 3 women a day are killed by former or current intimate male partners. That statistic has got to stop. I'm very passionate about that. We are killing women. And this, which is mothers. And we think of Mother Earth. How are we treating Mother Earth? Everything, again, is connected. It's the result of this system. Anyway, so back to kind of the story. We came in stipulation. He still had not paid any child support. Child support enforcement came after him, and he filed for full custody. And he had attorneys all along. And fast forward to February 2022, 3 years ago at this point, we're recording this February 2025. He showed up to a visit exchange. We just had a third judge in the case. The first 2 judges resigned because they knew what they were doing was wrong. So just putting that in people's perspective. I was, a mama bear. I had filed federal lawsuits on my own. I did not have an attorney. I was learning, true law on the fly, and realizing that the family court system is over an 80 billion year money system. It's a for profit, and children are being trafficked every single day. People do not realize this. We're concerned about children crossing the border, but yet children are being trafficked in the, towns all across the country. And when I say trafficking, I think most people think of like something different than what I'm speaking of. But the definition of trafficking is exchanging a human in exchange for money. And that's what I mean. Like your child is like trafficked. Even in 50-50 situations, a child can still be trafficked because there's money exchanged in that transaction. It's transactional. It's not honoring to the system whatsoever. Anyway, so my ex alleged that I didn't show up for a visit, and he had an attorney. He told his attorney I didn't show up, which even if that was true, what happened next should have never happened. It's not lawful. It's barely even legal. And they filed ex parte, which in the legal terms, that's behind your back. And you are not privy to what's happening in the courts. You don't know what's happening. And this, the father who had barely seen my son in almost 4 years, who lives out of state, suddenly got full legal custody of my son, who lived with me 24/7 for almost 4 years. He was just a few months shy of his 4th birthday. Even as I say this 3 years later, I'm still aghast that this happened. And I think the more people that find out about this story, like there's going to be some reckoning, because this judge did not have any knowledge of the case. He was on the case 9 days, and the case had been going on almost 4 years of the domestic violence. Also due process. My due process, there was no evidence of anything. Like an ex parte is should be typically reserved for, a person is, a child is in like imminent danger, not because supposedly somebody missed a visit, or not even missed a visit. They said I didn't even show up to the visit, which was completely false. I had 2 witnesses there. So, very interesting. And so the following week, we had the Zoom hearing for this ex parte, and his attorney said on record, again, I don't have an attorney. I'm up against these wolves. And she even said, the mother will not bend her knee. And as soon as she said that, I knew that I was correct. This was not about custody. This was about beating me to the pulp. They knew that I knew what they were doing was wrong. And I'm a fairly strong individual, and they just wanted to rake me over the coals. And so I kept my baby safe. During that hearing, she was like, and I also order this court, if the mother doesn't turn over her son, as if my son is just like a suitcase, and no regard for his well-being, just like literally just ripped out of my arms. Just, I mean, his community, his, open gym, like his whole schedule. I mean, it's quite horrific. It is definitely a movie. I mean, the scene in the movie, people are going to be crying. It's just in gasping, because this is what has happened. Yeah. And if she doesn't turn over the child, we're going to file for default judgment. What mother would ever just turn over her child? Biologically, it's not possible. Like a mother's just you don't even see, like, look at nature. You don't even see like a mother bear just, a mother bear will go after her cubs, a baby bird. I mean, if you look at nature does not abandon their own. And same with, a biological mother, if, they're, mentally healthy, like they don't abandon, they certainly just don't turn over their kids. And I mean, I had no choice. I was not going to turn over my child. And so the only choice I had was to really pray that we could be kept safe, and, a miracle would happen. Unfortunately, that did not happen. They filed for default judgment, and he was given custody again with no trial, no evidence, no witnesses, nothing. Just, we're going to sign this piece of paper, and she suddenly loses custody. Child trafficking. And 2 months later, I was arrested. I had just played with my son at the playground for about 3 hours, and we had changed safe houses, and that safe house was a front, and they turned me in. And my little boy was ripped out of my arms, screaming, "I want my mother back. Give me my mama back." He was handed over to CPS. And up until this past November, that was the last time I ever saw or heard from my child again. And I was arrested for custodial interference, basically being a protective mother. It's not a lawful law. It's a code. It's against the Constitution. It's against human mother parental rights. But this is what has happened in our system. And so I'm still going through the court process as we speak. There's been some movement in the case, but for 3 years, I have been without my precious little boy. Extreme, I lost everything. I lost, the business. I lost my car. I lost my driver's license. I lost my possessions to literally, I went to the ends of the earth to protect my baby. And this is, I guess, why I'm so passionate about transformation. Like, if I can go through this just utterly horrific experience, I'm still standing. I'm still here. Not going to say I don't have, my tough days, but I'm willing to share this story. And it's been hard. But the more I do it, the more I believe in the power of my story and how it can lead others out of their pain or whatever they're going through. It could be minor, it could be major, because for me not to be silenced, they really wanted me silenced, and they did everything they could. And yeah. I'm still here, still fighting. And that is like really part of my message of, it's more than just don't give up, but really kind of like looking at that bigger picture of like, what did my soul come here for? And, that's kind of like the whole Hope Rose movement. Hope Rose was, given to me 3 years ago, like source, God, universe gave it to me. I didn't know really why or what at the beginning until a couple of months later, something significant happened. And then like 2 years later, somebody, another friend was like, Hope Rose is like a movement. And I was like, oh, you're right. Hope Rose is a movement. I like it. Okay, I can get on board with that. That's why Source gave it to me. And so really, like part of my tagline is, alchemizing your ashes into art. And, works of art, like tangible paintings, even, like pottery, like any art that you see, it's a labor of love. It starts with nothing. And, you make this beautiful masterpiece. And that's what our lives are like. And that's, part of like my coaching experience, like one-on-one with people is like, everybody's a masterpiece. And unfortunately, through childhood trauma, generational trauma that has not been healed, life experiences, whatever, death of a loved one, like whatever, business failed, divorce, whatever it is, thoughts like, I'm not good enough or I'm not lovable. Like all of this, gunk is, clogging up their masterpiece, their work of art. And my role is to remove all of that so they can, paint their masterpiece, and the world, including themselves, can benefit from that. And it might just be their family. It might be their children. It might be their community, but the world is asking for you to paint your masterpiece with joy and love and peace, and, ending the hurt and the violence and retaliation and, all these horrific things, war, like whatever, horrific things are happening in the country. Let's end that. Let's focus on, building, painting these beautiful masterpieces. And that is part of the Hope Rose vision.
Yeah. So the movement for, alchemizing ashes into art, of course, draws inspiration from, that concept we all know, of a phoenix rising from the ashes. And I just want to say that, yes, going through your podcast and listening, obviously, allows for people to, see that there's hope and support that are facing similar situations. And, everything from the awareness of the challenges in the family court system and all of that, you're sharing some powerful, stories and providing practical tools for, other people that are going through difficult life situations. So that is something that should be recognized, commended, and wish you the best there. I was going to ask you where the court stands with everything, but you have already updated us on that. So good luck there. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And we'll come back with part 2. And I want us to look at some of the things that you've been doing with, helping people dig into that transformative life and talk about, building some healthy habits and non-toxic living. So is that okay if we take a quick break?
Yeah, let's take a quick break and maybe like 5 minutes, or just, I guess, kind of want to maybe wrap up like this chapter.
If you want to, okay, if you want to do it now, and then we can take a break. That's
So kind of, when you go through something tragic like this, it can be really, especially, coming out of an abusive situation, and just, it was really abusive, and I'm still recognizing like, oh, that's why I do that. And one of the greatest things, if the listener is going through whether they're in or out of an abusive relationship, maybe they're in an abusive relationship with themselves. And that could be a whole podcast in of itself. If they're experiencing abuse with another person, the greatest thing you can do is to take back your power. And I have learned a lot and talk a lot about like victim consciousness. I think I even did a podcast, or maybe it was my Instagram, that I did victim consciousness, and how you win in daily life, how you're like, a lot of people like, hear my story. They're like, oh my God, like you're so strong. How do you get out of bed? And it's just like, I'm not going to be a victim. I'm not going to give my power away to this other person. That's exactly what they want me to do. And it's not, a lot of people kind of think of like giving your power away more of, like I need to fight in court, and that's obviously part of it, but it's keeping your inner peace of when they try to rile you up, send threatening messages, filing ridiculous things. I mean, the ongoing court case is another podcast in of itself on my podcast. The things that have been filed against me are just completely ridiculous. And it is keeping your power in those instances where it's like, oh, you want to throw that at me? No problem. I'm good. You don't have to, rock me off my world, because I've done so much work on myself that if you want to continue to try to hurt me, you don't have any power, because I know my worth. I know why I'm here. And you're just hurting yourself, and they're going to run out of steam because they're no longer energetically connected to you. You're not letting their patterns, their tactics knock you off. And so I just want to offer that to people. Like if you're feeling, disempowered, take your power back by, again, doing the deep work and keeping your power for yourself, not giving it away, by having those, internal boundaries of like, keep my peace, I don't have to give it away. And no matter how, frustrating they are, the other person to you, you can keep your power. And so I just want to kind of, give people hope that no matter how difficult the situation you might be in, or minor, difficult, major, minor, or medium, you can keep your power. And I've done it. And if you need assistance in that, let me know.
All right. I'm going to put a link in the show notes specifically to episode 11 of your podcast, Reclaim Your Power. So you did do a show on that. And folks, you can listen to that and hear Hope talk about, strategies for turning setbacks into triumphs, and find out how you can apply for a one-on-one coaching session with Hope herself. So we'll have that in the show notes. And as we said earlier, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with part 2. So just click next if it's in your podcast player, or you'll see it soon when it comes out. So we'll be back in just a little bit.